Hello, my name's David Cole and I'm Technical Director of Sandfield Penstock Solutions, and today I'm going to talk to you about environmental advice. Well, environmental advice could be anything really. There's such a broad spectrum of subject, but specifically environmental advice is somebody or a consultant or somebody who understands something giving you some information specific to your business and the question specifically around environmental. We're looking really at air, water pollution when you're looking at environmental advice. So as a business, we focus on water pollution. So we're looking at the environmental impact that your business has. If you have a catastrophic failure or something goes wrong, how are you going to impact the water? How are you going to impact the environment around you? It can lead to ground, because obviously contamination of the drainage network can lead into soakaways and drainage. But mainly we try to focus on water pollution. Well, I suppose one of the things is that we all need advice from time to time, and sometimes getting advice from a different sort of perspective can help. And I think we should all be open to sort of certain bits of information to give us advice on everything that we do. So if you're a business that's actually in manufacturing, if you've been approached particularly by the regulator, the Environment Agency, or your local regulator or local council about what happens in fire water containment, what happens about pollution containment, what have you got in place as your emergency management system, your plan, then really hopefully we're the people to come and talk to, because we can help you with that environmental management system, and we can help you, give you some advice on how we would use the Syria guidance, because we've been heavily involved with it, how we would implement that to give you a water pollution containment scheme. A situation we've been involved with recently is where we've had a number of clients that have come to us around, they've got a permit change, they're putting in some new equipment, and the Environment Agency have turned up and asked them to build a bund around their facility. What we've done in that advice is we've taken a look at the site, we've said, okay, right, what you're looking at is quite a huge expense, and it's actually stopping that work taking place because it's become unaffordable, it's not viable. So what we've got involved with, we've actually then looked at the risk, we've looked at the environmental risk to that business if it had a failure, and then we've come across with then a design that actually gives them the same controls and containment, in fact better controls and containment, because normally what happens is when people put bunds around facilities is they're only bunding and protecting the facility, but most of our activity, either delivery vehicles and things that happen, actually take place outside of that facility, which isn't protected by the bund. For instance, one of our recent sites is that they were building an effluent treatment plant. They were told by the Environment Agency they needed to put 110% bunding all the way around it. As you can imagine, how do you get tankers then into that facility to get rid of the slurry? Don't know. They have to then sit the tanker on the outside to take the slurry away, which in itself creates a huge environmental risk. If there was a fire on that facility, the firefighting is going to take place in the outside of that bunded area as well. So what we looked at is our philosophy is to look at that environmental risk and say, right, let's not just look at in isolation. Let's look at the whole risk. If you had a catastrophic disaster, can we contain your pollution event here on the site using what we've got, putting in some designs on the tertiary, and that's what we do. Well, there's a number of sites that we've worked with over the years on actually designing a pollution containment system and putting a scheme in place. Some of the larger ones are obviously major projects, but also it's an awareness of actually what is the risk that they're probably not even aware of, where that we've actually designed a specific system. One of the ones many years ago that I worked with, which actually one of the ones that set me on this sort of journey, was that they had a fire, and I'd approached them the previous year to offer them some advice and some of my ideas, which had been rejected at the time. After the fire, what they had to do, or what they were requested by the regulator, was to actually evidence that they could contain any event in the future with a firewater runoff and everything that was involved with that and the rainstorm event that would be added to it. And that's where we got involved in the design of their new plan, was we actually took that, we actually looked at it, we actually produced them a spill animation model to show them what was wrong. So we actually gave them the true volumes. And once they had the true volumes, they knew where the valves needed to be, where the drainage needed to be isolated with toggle block valves. That was done. We knew that system would work. We tested it, it was watertight, and then we built above ground tertiary, which gave them the perfect example, which actually protected that business, I think, from previously to that is they couldn't get their permits to operate without some evidence. Okay, so as a business, I think we were heavily involved, or I was personally heavily involved in the Syria 736 guidance, which is all about understanding tertiary containment and how you actually control water pollution. That's where we can help, is that if you're being asked the question, how do you control runoff from your site? How do you implement Syria 736 to your site? I'd like to think that we're probably some of the biggest experts in the UK. We understand how the guidance was written. It contains some of our case studies. We understand how it works. And certainly by using some of our spill modelling techniques, what we can do is we can prove or show you as the customer, which you can then sit down with the Environment Agency and show them the magnitude of your problem, what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to achieve it before you actually start spending money on buying equipment that might be wrong. So if you're going to address these issues, first thing is always use our 6-point process. The first one is to look at the regulation. Then understand how the regulations affect your business. Once you've done that, carry out a full risk assessment, be honest and look at what your risks for your businesses actually are and what could happen. Then you want to design off that risk assessment what you need to do. You need to look at that and produce a design. Once you've got that design, implement it, build it, set it up, get it working. Then what you need to do is monitor, maintain and document the system that you've implemented. Keep in touch with what you're doing. Keep looking at guidance and how regulation has changed and technology has changed. And keep the system that you've put in place operational and keep it working. If you'd like to know more, why don't you contact us at www.penstocksolutions.co.uk.